Hello students, in this video I will share with you how I do assessment of your discussion post. I would like to make this video more general to be available and beneficial to my different classes that I teach for several universities. So I'm using one post from one of my classes as an example of conducting my assessment. Please follow me in my explanation of how I do assessment so you can better understand the expectations and you can improve your work or assess how well you do on your discussions. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. This is discussion 1 on chapter 1 and 2 for International Business Marketing class. In the instructions, I ask students to read chapters 1 and 2 of their textbook and participate in the discussion. I give students 3 case studies, and based on their last names, they have to choose one to read it, analyze it, and reflect on it. Why I use this approach to give students more than one case study? Because I want them to be engaged in wider discussion on specific topics in these chapters. In the discussion post, I ask students to briefly summarize the case studies that they are going to analyze and reflect on, to connect the case study to the concepts discussed in the chapters, and connect the case study to their personal experience. And I provide them with a certain number of words. Of course, it is a minimum requirement. Students are always encouraged to write more. More writing means an opportunity for students to get in deeper discussion, deeper analysis, which is very important. I also remind students to cite all the sources of information that they used. For example, in this particular discussion, they are required to cite the textbook because they are using the textbook. However, I always encourage students to use external sources of information, because going beyond the textbook to the wider body of knowledge is very important, because the textbook provides only one view on the problem, on the issues that we are learning about or exploring. But using the other reliable sources add to the students' understanding and add information for them to analyze the case study more in depth. So let's move further. So here I provide examples how the textbook can be cited in text and in the references, how it should be shown in the reference as well. So it is very important to cite the sources of information. When we cite the sources, we acknowledge the contribution of the authors to the body of knowledge that we are exploring, that we are using. It is very important to show the respect to those people who created information that we are using for our discussion. For example, our textbook has 4 authors, and when you cite the textbook or any other source with the multiple authors the first time, you have to list all of them, all the last names, no initials, just last names of all authors of the study, plus the year of publication. When you later cite the same source, you should use @al. It is used when we have 3 or more authors of the source. So, like for example, here in this citation, Katiora et al. 2024. Et al. Means and others. Catiora and others, 2024. And we know who are those others. We already cited all their names when we cited the first time. And when you use a narrative like according to, we cite this way, according to Catiora et al. In parentheses 2024, then we write whatever we want to say. It is very important for direct quotation, for direct quote, to cite the page number where this information is located. For example, here, according to Catiora et al. 2024, the increase of globalization of markets, blah, 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 blah. And at the end, I put page number, page 8. And then I put period. The sentence ended here. It is very important to choose very strong saying for your direct quotation. If you quote very long quote, it takes room from your discussion. It reduces your ability to express your voice, to share your understanding. So it is not encouraged. It is actually discouraged to use longer sayings for direct quotations. Please avoid using long quotes. Only short, and don't overuse them, because when you use too often the direct quotations, I always question how strong the sayings are, and do I really hear your voice, your interpretation, or it is your post or your paper is just a collection of the quotes, which is not appropriate, because I want to hear your voice and see your analysis. And this is an example for the reference entry. Once again, your citation, the source must appear in two places: inside of your text, inside of your post, and at the end, at the references. So when you cite in your post, you just give me a very general, like you label the source here, and in the references, you provide the full description of the source. Again, according to APA, you have to use the APA format for your discussions. And then, so this is for initial post requirements. And for replies, for example, in this particular case, I encourage you to reply to those classmates who analyze cross-border case studies different from yours. In this case, you will be engaged in the discussion on different case studies. Short replies, like "I like your post," will not earn any points. Of course, your reply post must be substantial. It must be thoughtful, on point, and complete. So it would make sense. Okay, now after I described to you the assignment for this particular discussion, I want to show the assessment approach. I look at critical thinking, I look at APA writing style, and I look at grammar and clarity of your writing. By APA writing style, I understand your ability, your understanding of citations. It is, again, very important to cite the information that we are using, because we, again, have to show the respect to those people who created that information. Critical thinking. For critical thinking, I recorded a separate video where I explain in details how I use Bloom's taxonomy and how I suggest and advise my students to use Bloom's taxonomy to develop their critical thinking and demonstrate the critical thinking to me so I can make assessment. I'm not going to go through this Bloom's taxonomy here in this video because I have, as I said, another video where I discuss in details about this model, but I will refer to this model explaining my expectations. For example, if we go back to the instructions, and here, when I say briefly summarize your case study, this is about your explanation, clear explanation of the case studies that you read. An explanation. Oh my God. So where is explanation? Explanation is on the second level of Bloom's taxonomy pyramid. So explain ideas or concepts. So this is explanation. It must be clear to your reader, to me, to your classmates, to anyone who reads your post, your clear explanation. Then I go back again to the instructions. Connect your case to the concepts. Connect your case to your personal experience. Okay, now I go back to the Bloom's taxonomy. And where I see connection. Connection I see here at the level of analysis. When I ask you to analyze the case study, I want you to make connections among different concepts discussed in the case study. And so we reach this level of critical thinking pyramid of Bloom's taxonomy and analysis. And application that also is expected from you is here when you speak about your personal experiences in relationships to the case study, you provide the application. You apply theory to practice to your personal life. It is also about connections and application. As well, when you reflect on the case study, you conduct evaluation. You may say, you make some kind of judgments. You share about your likes, dislikes, approval, disapproval, which is very important to demonstrate, again, critical thinking. So, and here, evaluation, we are at this level of critical thinking pyramid. So the last level is creation a new original work, a new product, a new understanding for our cases. You demonstrate creation, your new understanding. Can be called lessons learned from your analysis, from your evaluation, from your application. Lessons learned is about creation of new understanding of the phenomena or issue. I hope it makes sense. So now we are moving to the post. For this particular class, as my last name starts with W, I have been assigned Crossing Borders 1.3, which covers the growth and expansion of Tesla Motors across the national and international markets. Okay, good introduction. Very clear explanation why this particular case study has been chosen. The case study began by describing, and now there is very specific information about the case study. I hope that you see that. It shows very specific information because it contains the year of the financial crisis. It contains the amount of dollars. It contains the name of the companies and other very specific information. When we deal with very specific information, It is very clear. It is not general information, general knowledge information, because if you ask a stranger, like about Tesla in 2009 and amount of dollars that was involved in this kind of loan by the government, the person on the street more likely would not be able to answer this question. That means that this is not like general information available, known by average person. It is very specific information, which means that it comes from very specific source of information, which must be cited. So the author of this post did very well citing the textbook. So, and it also, the author of this post did very well citing the correct way, because when we cite the first time, we list all the names of the authors of the source that we are using. So then I'm not going to read everything. I will just highlight several things that I would like you to pay attention on. So here, for example, in the next paragraph, the author of this post uses et al, which is correct because we already named all the authors and now we just refer to them. Ketiora and others describes. So now I have a problem because I know that we have 4 authors here and describes is a singular. It's a verb which is singular. So what is the solution? I would remove s, describe, to make it plural, or even better, I will change to the past tense because it was already done and it is more appropriate to use the past tense when we speak about information that already exist or that about the events that already happened. So past tense is more appropriate here, and I would use the past tense. Now, I see very short quotation marks, in quotation mark, short quote, and another short quote with the page number. Very good job, very good job. Now I want to look at the quotes themselves. Decisions are no longer focused on national borders. Very good. Very good. Very strong concepts that market becomes global. So no longer focused on national borders. Very good. And here, treat the world as one market. Again, it's the same. Very important words were selected to use as direct quote. Very good. So, but here I would like to go a little bit up here when the person speaks about Chinese buyer. Very good. You see, we go beyond America to China. And in this case, not for the first discussion. Normally, I ask students to start using external sources for the second week, in the second week on the second discussion. When they demonstrate their skills and abilities to use the primary source of information during the first week of the course. So when when we go beyond the company or when we observe like significant change, like here the company was acquired by a Chinese buyer, I would like to learn to explore more about this company in China, I mean under Chinese ownership. So what the point that I'm making right now is about using external sources of information and adding this information to this discussion. It will be very valuable because it will expand the scope of our discussion to give the by giving the a bigger picture and also give me more information for better understanding this case study and this issue. Let's go further. Okay, here I highlighted, for example, when we use for example, what we do in Bloom's taxonomy, we do application, apply, use information in new situations, implement, solve, use, demonstrate. So demonstrate is a good word. Demonstration through examples showing that you are at the level of application in critical thinking. So let's look at this part of the sentence. It shows, but according to the textbook authors, so what we see here, the A is capital. What does it tell me? The capital letter in the middle of the sentence tells me that the author of this post didn't take time to proofread the post before submission. Please make sure that you read what you write, what you wrote, before you submit your discussion post or submit your paper. This sentence contains this quote. Let me read it and assess the quality and strengths of this quotation. China exported more goods and services than the US in 2023, demonstrating the reality that the global market is catching up quickly. I would not use a quote here because this is something that you can say in your own words without losing the original meaning or losing the strength of this saying, of this information. So it is very actually commonly known that China exports more goods and services. So I would rephrase this somehow without using the direct quotation because the saying is not as strong as like quotations here. I hope it makes sense. And this is the last paragraph about personal connection to personal experiences. Here, I think something is missing. Experience of being that consumer. Here I remove the name of specific person name. We don't need to know the names actually. In your post, it is not necessary to put the real name of the people. Just, not because something is wrong about that, but because you as researchers, as emerging business researchers, have to understand importance of confidentiality. We are always, we are often expected to keep some information confidential, like names, because we don't want to harm anyone. Even discussion posts are internal to the classroom, and this information does not go to public. Still, I suggest that you guys, you students, avoid using the real name or names of the people, just to practice this skill to keep information of people confidential. And the last sentence, thanks to Pittsburgh State University's efforts to market beyond their borders, I'm here in this class today. Now, this is a wonderful ending of the post because it shows not only your excitement to be in this class and learn about international marketing, but also it shows a connection to the content of the discussion. Very good job. And your post has references, one reference, which is a textbook. Very good. So once again, the sources must appear in two places. The first place is your text, your in-text citations, like this one, like this one. And second place, it is references. They must match in text citations and the references. Please let me know if my explanation of how I do assessment of your discussion post was helpful. I hope that you enjoy your learning and you remember that learning sometimes can be and should be challenging. Take care.